9:40 in the morning, Washington time. There were no cameras, no press briefings, no official statements, but something had changed. Just days earlier, public rhetoric between the United States and Iran had reached a familiar peak. Warnings were issued, red lines were mentioned. The language was sharp, direct, and unmistakably deliberate. Then, without announcement, the tone shifted. Diplomatic channels that had remained inactive for months quietly reopened. Messages were exchanged. Intermediaries moved. Meetings were scheduled under strict discretion. To the public, it looked like nothing happened. But in international diplomacy, silence often signals movement. The timing was not accidental. When threats are made publicly, they are rarely meant to end a conversation. More often, they are designed to force one. And once that pressure has been applied, negotiations tend to resume, quietly, carefully, and without spectacle. Both sides understood the stakes. For Iran, nuclear negotiations are not only about energy or technology. They are about sanctions, legitimacy, and survival under pressure. For the United States, the issue goes beyond one country. It is about deterrence, regional stability, and credibility. That morning marked the beginning of a new phase. Not escalation, not resolution, but recalibration. And as talks resumed behind closed doors, one question lingered. Was this a step toward de-escalation, or simply a pause before the next confrontation? The return to negotiations did not happen because tensions disappeared. It happened because they peaked. In modern geopolitics, dialogue rarely resumes at moments of calm. It returns after pressure has been applied and understood by both sides. That was the case here. Public threats serve a specific purpose. They are not meant to close doors. They are meant to redefine leverage. After strong language entered the public arena, both Washington and Tehran reassessed their positions quietly. Not emotionally, strategically. For Iran, continuing confrontation without a diplomatic channel carries long-term risk. Economic pressure, regional isolation, and internal strain all intensify when communication stops completely. For the United States, allowing a standoff to drift without engagement creates uncertainty. And uncertainty, especially around nuclear capabilities, is something no administration is willing to tolerate for long. This is where negotiations reappear, not as compromise, but as control. Talks resumed because both sides recognized a familiar pattern. Escalation without dialogue narrows options. Dialogue without escalation weakens leverage. The balance lies in moving between the two. Behind closed doors, the discussions were not about trust. They were about limits. What actions would cross a line? What activities could be tolerated? What signals needed to be sent without triggering retaliation? This is not diplomacy driven by optimism. It is diplomacy driven by calculation. Each side entered the talks knowing exactly what they wanted to avoid. For Iran, further economic tightening and international isolation. For the United States, unchecked advancement of nuclear capability and loss of regional credibility. No agreements were announced. No breakthroughs were claimed, because this phase was not about resolution. It was about slowing momentum. Negotiations resumed to prevent miscalculation, not to declare peace, to manage risk, not eliminate it. And while public attention focused elsewhere, the most important exchanges happened quietly, in rooms without cameras, where words matter more than headlines. By the end of the second day, one thing was clear. The standoff had not ended, but it had changed form. At the center of the renewed dialogue was not rhetoric, it was capability. For years, the nuclear issue has defined the relationship between the United States and Iran, not because of what has been publicly confirmed, but because of what remains uncertain. Behind closed doors, the conversation returned to familiar ground. Enrichment levels, inspection access, technical thresholds. These topics are rarely explained in public detail, but they carry enormous strategic weight. Small technical changes can dramatically shorten timelines. A few percentage points can redefine intent. This is why negotiations often focus less on declarations and more on verification. What can be measured? What can be monitored? What cannot be hidden? From the American perspective, The concern has never been solely about possession. It has been about momentum. Once certain technical stages are reached, reversal becomes increasingly difficult. From Iran's perspective, nuclear capability is leverage. It provides bargaining power in negotiations that extend far beyond energy or technology. Sanctions relief, regional influence, and political legitimacy all intersect at this issue. That is why progress is rarely linear. Each concession is weighed against internal pressure. Each pause is measured against external reaction. The talks did not aim to resolve the nuclear question in a single step. That was never realistic. Instead, they focused on stabilization, slowing progress, extending timelines, reducing uncertainty. This approach reflects a broader shift in how nuclear standoffs are managed. Absolute prevention has given way to controlled limitation, not trust. Control. No side entered the discussions expecting agreement. What they sought was clarity. How close is too close? What actions trigger response? Where ambiguity becomes unacceptable? These questions define modern nuclear diplomacy. As discussions continued, both sides avoided language that would lock them into public positions. Flexibility mattered more than statements. Silence mattered more than announcements. To the outside world, it appeared uneventful. But within negotiation rooms, every word was deliberate, because in nuclear diplomacy, progress is not marked by applause. It is marked by what does not happen. No new escalation, no sudden collapse, no irreversible step. And as long as that balance holds, the conversation continues. Despite public language, neither side entered the renewed talks seeking victory. They entered seeking control. For the United States, the objective was not to force an immediate agreement. It was to reassert boundaries, to make clear where tolerance ends and response begins. Washington's priority has remained consistent: prevent sudden shifts in capability that could change the regional balance overnight. Stability matters more than headlines. Predictability matters more than promises. From this perspective, negotiations are a tool, not a concession. They allow pressure to be managed rather than released. They slow momentum without requiring public compromise. They buy time. Iran's objectives are different, but equally calculated. Tehran is not negotiating from weakness, nor from strength. It is negotiating from endurance. Years of pressure have shaped a strategy focused on survival, leverage, and flexibility. For Iran, talks serve to keep options open. They reduce isolation. They fragment international consensus. They preserve strategic ambiguity. By remaining engaged without fully committing, Iran maintains space to maneuver. Each round of dialogue delays harsher outcomes while preserving internal narratives of resistance. This creates an unusual dynamic. Both sides prefer the talks to continue. Neither side wants them to succeed too quickly. A breakthrough would force difficult choices. A collapse would remove buffers. So the negotiations exist in the middle, not progress, not failure. A controlled pause. This is why language remains cautious, why outcomes remain vague, why timelines are rarely fixed. Behind closed doors, neither side is asking for trust. They are asking for predictability. What will trigger escalation? What will be tolerated? What will not? These conversations shape behavior long after the meetings end. And while the public waits for agreements that never come, the real outcome is quieter. Limits are understood. Signals are absorbed. Future moves are shaped. Because in modern diplomacy, what each side really wants is not resolution. It is advantage without collapse. What followed the renewed talks was not resolution. It was recalibration. No agreements were announced. No timelines were confirmed. No public optimism was offered. Yet, the geopolitical environment subtly shifted. That is often how modern standoffs evolve. Not through breakthroughs, but through adjustment. For the United States, the continuation of dialogue served a clear function. It reduced the risk of sudden escalation while preserving the ability to apply pressure when needed. It kept channels open without surrendering leverage. For Iran, the outcome was equally calculated. Engagement without commitment allowed space to breathe. It delayed harsher consequences while maintaining strategic ambiguity. Nothing was conceded publicly, but options remained open. This balance is fragile by design. Negotiations at this stage are not about solving the problem. They are about managing it, preventing surprises, avoiding miscalculation, buying time. But time cuts both ways. Every pause allows reassessment. Every delay reshapes strategy. Every quiet meeting changes future decisions. For the global system, this episode reinforced a familiar truth. Power today is often exercised in silence, not through force alone, but through posture, not through announcements, but through restraint, not through resolution, but through control. The nuclear issue did not disappear. Tensions did not vanish. Distrust did not fade. What changed was the tempo. And in international politics, tempo matters. It determines when crises escalate, when they cool, and when they return. As negotiations continued quietly, both sides walked away with something intangible but valuable: clarity. They understood each other's limits a little better. They learned where pressure worked and where it did not. That knowledge will shape the next confrontation. Because in conflicts like this, nothing truly ends. It pauses, it adapts, it waits. And the world moves forward, unaware that the most important decisions are often made far from cameras, headlines, and public debate.